Where do you start when it's time to start growing your team for your service-based business, and how do you even know that you're ready? Well, I can't tell you exactly what's right for you, but I can share with you a little bit about everything we've done in growing our business over the past years to help you make some informed decisions when you are ready to start bringing on some people to support you in your business. Hi, I'm Brittany McBean, launch strategist and copywriter, and I run a teeny tiny micro agency that supports myself, one other full-time employee, and a small but mighty team of contractors as we do our client work day in and day out. So when do you know that you're ready to start growing your team? It's a really great thing that you're thinking about that. For me, I kind of acted before I thought, and you can do that. I don't necessarily recommend it, so I'm going to teach you everything that I learned because I just started growing my team when I started feeling overwhelmed, and I got really, really lucky and brought on some amazing people, but there were a lot of pitfalls and areas that could have gone pretty wrong. So you start growing your team when you have some clarity about what you want your business to look like. Again, you don't have to be certain, you don't have to have your 5-year roadmap mapped out, but you need to know what you want your general day-to-day business to look like. For example, we do client work in our business, and I had to decide, do I want to just have someone support me in the system side of the business so that I can do all of the client work, or do I want to add some writers to my business so that I could have a micro agency? Or do I want to go the full-on agency model and have a large team of people doing a large amount of client work? Those were the 3 options that I saw. Of course, there's a lot of different options in between, but I had to get really clear on what I wanted. And I knew that I didn't want a large agency that was just farming out client work and pumping things out as fast as we could. I really liked doing the high-touch, high-end client relationships, those type of projects that we were doing. But I also knew that when I was the only writer in the business and I was the only one doing client work, I was feeling pretty burnt out and discouraged, and I could see myself on that path to burnout, and I knew that I wanted to do this for the long term. So I made a decision to kind of mash those 2 together and invent my own version of a high-touch, high-end micro agency where I was not the only person doing the writing, but my clients were getting a very personalized, very custom, very high-end experience where they had a lot of access to me and where my writers had everything that they need to set them up for success to do the client work, so that there wasn't a big incongruity between what my clients wanted and what my writers were writing. So I would really encourage you just to get clear about what kind of business you want to have, at least in the next 12 months, so that you start to know what support to bring on, right? So that's my first answer. The second answer is just before you're drowning. Do it before you're ready, okay? And we're gonna talk about that because I hired someone before I thought I could afford them, and I still didn't tank the business, right? So before you are drowning, because once you have your head underwater and you're just struggling to keep up, it's gonna be really hard to bring someone in, onboard them, teach them your business, teach them your systems and your processes. Even if you don't have that many, you still have something to teach someone, and you're gonna have to slow down a little bit to speed up. So if you're already drowning, you can't just hand work off to someone who's never worked with you a day in their life. So now that you know kind of the business that you want and you are not necessarily drowning yet, how do you start? Set your budget. So where do I recommend gaining support first? For me and for a lot of other creatives, that is with your systems and your processes. And I said support because outsourcing is, here's this thing, you go do it. You're working outside of the business. At least that's how I see it in my head, where support is come alongside me and let's create something better together that we could not have created individually. Like I said, as a creative, my brain does not see systems and processes. I thrive with them, as most of us do. We thrive under organization. We thrive knowing what to expect with clear step-by-steps, but I wasn't great at putting them together. And even if I could, it took me hours. So when I first started hiring, I thought I was gonna hire a VA, but I didn't, and I don't think you should either. When you think of growing your team, you probably think of hiring a VA first. So I want to define a couple job titles for you because you may not actually need a VA first. In fact, I would recommend that that isn't where you start. So a VA or virtual assistant. Also, you might have heard the term executive assistant. They're a little bit different, but we'll talk about both of them. They are a task-based role. This is someone that works closely with you as the CEO to implement the tasks in your business that help the business move forward and help the big projects get done, but don't necessarily require your your unique skill sets and your zone of genius. So maybe it's uploading something in your email service provider or in Kajabi or in your CRM, or maybe it is building something out in Canva or setting up a workflow or setting up Zaps or answering emails, right? All of those things that are task-based roles and do require skill and talent and focus that a VA specifically brings, but don't require you as the creative CEO of your business to be doing in order to be done well. Now, an EA, an executive assistant, are very similar to a virtual assistant. Usually an EA will do some more personal tasks. So maybe they're gonna do not just business inbox management, but maybe some personal inbox management, or maybe they'll help you schedule appointments for your kid's dentist appointment or your hair appointment, or maybe help you some more personal tasks. And then of course there is a PA, a personal assistant, and that is someone who's going to help you just with your personal household tasks. So in some way, shape, or form, hiring an assistant, whether it's a personal assistant, executive assistant, or virtual assistant, whether they're in person or virtual, they are going to help you complete the tasks that help big projects in your business move forward and function on a day-to-day basis. Now, an online business manager is going to be someone who is more skilled in systems and strategy. So they are not just going to be doing tasks, not just implementing and executing, but they are going to be setting up high-level strategy and setting up the systems that you need to help your business move forward. So the VA is going to be doing the tasks that lie within those systems, and OBM is going to be strategizing and setting up those systems. Now, an integrator is kind of like an OBM 2.0. They are really the next level up. So your OBM, your online business manager, is going to manage the business and your team. So as you grow additional members of your team, that online business manager is going to be the one that helps keep track of them, manage projects, keep them on track, do all of that communication with the team so you can stay in the creative CEO role. Now, an integrator is going to do the same thing, but they're going to move up like one level in the org chart. Do I sound fancy and corporate? I've never worked in an office in my life, but I've heard really smart people say org chart, so I'm saying org chart. But really, they are right underneath the CEO, and they are not only managing other members of the team, but they are managing all of the parts of the business that are not creatively related. So you, as the creative CEO, you are doing the research and development, the product development, you're doing the vision casting, all those big ideas, whereas the integrator is taking all of your big ideas. They're picking out the 1 to 2 good ones and saying, these are the ones we're gonna work with. This is what that project is gonna look like. This is the timeline. This is the deadline. These are the people that are going to manage it. So you are the idea creator. You are the vision caster. You are the content and product developer. And they are the person that is honing in your creativity, telling you when to slow down and to stop having so many big ideas, and telling you how to actually make those big ideas come to life. So you have your VA, you have your OBM, and you have your integrator. I do not think a VA should be your first hire. In fact, for us, it was our 7th hire. So when I first started hiring, I did think I was hiring a VA, and I put out a job description in a VA Facebook group. I'll link that below, and just a couple of other resources that you can look when you're first starting to find some support with your systems and your processes. And I had a really small budget. I was barely even making any profit in my business at all. Most of the business expenses were coming out of my family's pockets, and I still felt like I was drowning. So I talked with my husband. He doesn't help me make business decisions now. The business runs on its own, and I decide where all the finances go. But at that point, our business and our personal finances were pretty intertwined. So we talked and we just said, look, there isn't any money there, but if we could find someone for a very, very little bit of time, a very small budget that could help me work harder and faster and make more money in the business, then it obviously would even out. That to me did not mean starting by finding someone as cheap as I possibly could. Can you hire someone overseas? Absolutely. You cannot hire someone overseas and pay them $3 or $5 or even $7 an hour. I do not find that to be ethical, and in staying in alignment with my values, I want to pay people what they're worth. And yes, there's a lot of nuance that goes into setting a budget for someone overseas, because functionally you are then working within their society, their culture, and so you need to do your research. You need to figure out what is a way to responsibly and ethically pay someone within their societal structure, not necessarily getting someone for the cheapest, labor, US or Canadian dollars that you possibly can. I do not consider that ethical. That was not my goal when I first started hiring. So I set a budget, and originally my budget was between $15 and $20. And so I put out a job application and I thought I was hiring a VA. And what I quickly learned when I was doing interviews with the people that had submitted, they were people that called themselves VAs and OBMs. What I realized is that what I actually needed was an OBM. So instead of hiring a VA at $15 an hour for 10 hours a month, I started by hiring an OBM at $25 an hour for 5 hours a month, because I quickly learned that the tasks that that individual could complete in 5 hours were more than I could complete in 10 or 15 hours. Now, what I didn't know then that now I know is that I was hiring an OBM first, and that is what I should have done to begin with. So rather than starting with a VA, if you have never worked to strategically set up your systems and your processes in your business, is to start with a systems specialist, an OBM, an integrator, a systems specialist. These are the job titles you're going to be looking for. Now, if you're someone whose brain works both creatively enough to run the creative side of your business and be that visionary your business needs, and systematically enough to set up processes, then you may not need to start by hiring this system specialist. My brain does not work that way. Now, hiring a system specialist does not mean you need to bring on someone full-time. There are many OBMs, system specialists, and strategists that work on a project basis. So you, as a service provider, have the opportunity to find the right person, hire them for a very specific amount of time at a set rate within your budget, and say you are going to come in, you're going to audit, you're going to strategize, and even set up these systems, and then you can go and find that VA who can fall into those processes and complete those tasks. So that's really where I recommend, if you have a very minimal budget, you're not set up in terms of systems and processes, and you're not ready for some more long-term support, I encourage you to hire that specialist to set up your systems and then go find the right VA to implement the tasks within those systems. For me, I knew that I wanted to grow fast and I wanted to grow big, so I brought on that support for a long-term basis as a retainer. I was her retainer client, but I did bring in someone for fewer hours at a higher rate because they had a higher level of skill. The woman that I brought on, who is still with me, she is now my integrator. Her name is Erica McCauley. She had been a COO in previous organizations. She was clearly a system strategist and a system specialist. And so when she came in, I told her what I needed the business to do. I said, I need a process that functions in this way. This is the outcome I need that process to have. And then she strategized the process, set up the process, and implemented the process. And once I had her as a teammate, as a support, not only were we able to automate all of these systems and processes, but I had someone to help me manage other parts of the team as they grew. So our next step was to hire some writers. And I'm going to talk about hiring junior writers in another video, but because I already had Erica as an online business manager, then I had someone to help me manage those initial writers that we first hired, so that I was not the one doing all of the team management and all of the systems and processes. My experience has been that a highly skilled OBM can become an integrator, but a VA is not necessarily the same person that is going to be an OBM. They might be, but if you think I'll hire a VA and I'll train them to be my integrator, that's probably not going to be a good use of your time, because that is going to take years. They are two different roles with two different specialties. A VA is someone who is highly skilled and organized and self-starting and responsible and focused. And an OBM is someone who is all of those things, but a good manager, a good HR person, a good system strategist. And an integrator is someone who is all of those things and more. So when it comes to your first hire, I recommend starting with an OBM, whether it is for a part-time project basis or a retainer basis. That is going to be the person that can help you get the systems you need in your business set up for a VA to come in and implement. A VA is going to be at a lower hourly rate than an OBM, but that does not mean that you should be paying them $2 to $3 an hour. Once you have the system set up in your business, whether it is having an OBM run them day in and day out, or having the software and the automated workflows that run your systems, then you can have someone step in and do those tasks that keep the business running, that is still going to give you time back. But again, if you are spending time onboarding, explaining, teaching, micromanaging, doing quality control with a VA, you're not going to gain any time back. Instead, you're going to be scrambling a lot more to do the same amount of work, if not even less. But when your systems are set up and a VA can help with the tasks, then you can start growing the rest of your team. And then you get to decide whether you are the best person to manage additional team members, whether it's a bookkeeper, a graphic designer, a podcast editor, a YouTube editor, additional writers, if you have a copywriting business, or if you're a service provider, additional people that do the kind of service that you do in your business that can help you do that work for your clients. If you're going to be managing them, then you really need to be able to be a good project manager and a good HR representative functionally. And if that is not you, that's not me, I'm not a good project manager at all, then I do recommend having an OBM to help you oversee that team. And you can start very small. You can pay them what they're worth and pay for their skill, but with just a few hours a month, and you are going to get massive ROI and massive time back in your business so that you can grow to create the business that you've already decided you want to work towards in at least the next 12 months to 3 years. Okay, if you have any questions about what our team looks like in our business, other roles we've hired, how we started working with junior writers, please leave them in the comments below and I'll make sure to make more videos. I never want to present a business that I am fully running on my own. Yes, I am the CEO of my business, but oh my goodness, this business would have crashed and burned if it was just up to me. There is an insane amount of talent within the small but mighty team that supports the business, and we work together day in and day out to do the client work, the content, the offers, the products, all of the things that we do in the business, we work together to create. I am not a one-woman show, and I never want you to think that I am. So if I can help you understand a little bit more about how we run our business or how you can make the best decisions when it comes to growing your team and your business, let me know, ask some questions, and we can make some more content for you so that you can start doing this confidently, productively, and profitably. If you thought this video was helpful, go ahead and give it that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a single video. And if you want an additional resource to help you with all of your client work, I have a resource for you in the links below. I have a project management board or Trello board that we use to manage all of our client projects that I think will really help you as you start to grow and scale your service-based business.